And welcome to another edition of the New Sports Outlaws podcast. As always, I am Neil and this is Dan. And Dan, it went 1 week, but I've decided we're opening this show with football again. But before we
I
get
thought we
there,
put that to bed. I thought we put it to bed. What's going
no,
on?
how are you doing?
Doing good. We're starting to heat up a little bit in the sports landscape a little bit again. We're almost into March. Actually starts this Saturday. So we got some more basketball kind of playoff stretches coming up. We got football free agency and all those franchise tag talks going to happen. NFL Combine. And yeah, got some baseball coming up soon. So we got a lot. We got a little more to talk about now. No one have to do any more fillers. And let's get started.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is more to talk about. It is still a calmer period, but I had a choice when I was thinking about our format for today, and there's a lot that has happened over the week, and it was between football or opening with Yankee facial hair policies and such. So I decided, let's go football. It's what we know. It's what we love. So we'll go football, and let's jump right into it. There has been my first two headlines to talk to you about is there's been rumors and there's been a mock draft that just dropped, and we are on the combine eve, so we have a lot of those topics to talk about. What do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the draft. We said mock draft. Let's talk about a mock draft.
Okay, so I didn't write everything down because I wrote down what matters for us, especially in
Sure,
our New York esque
sure.
podcast here. Um, not Todd McShay. I'm sorry. Mel
No
Kiper,
Kiper.
the other one. Mel Kiper said he thinks that Carter's going to go first, the defensive end out of Penn State, and that would leave the Cleveland Browns taking Cam Ward, number 2, and then that would mean that Travis Hunter is actually the target of the New York Giants at number 3, and then they have the running back from Boise State, going to the Raiders, and Shador Sanders going to the New York Jets at 7. What do you think?
Um, yeah, no, it's surprising that they have all of a sudden Sanders was a number 1 pick or even a number, I guess, 2 pick, depending on how the order went. And now all of a sudden, I think the Jets would be thrilled if Sanders was there, no matter what they kind of think of him or not. Um, I do think there is going to be a little bit of a bridge still, even with if Sanders goes 7. I don't think he's going to be the starter from at least I don't think he should be the starter. Still think he maybe he'll do one of those sit a few games if they do it. But I think Abdul Carter is definitely the best player in the draft. I saw him a decent amount of Penn State games, especially when they're playing Ohio State and Michigan. He's definitely a monster. And Travis Hunter, I know we talked about him before. I'm really not sure what to think of Travis Hunter. I mean, I'm not sure if he's really declared himself. Has he really declared himself a corner? Is he just going to be? I mean, you would know more than I would about. Has Travis Hunter said anything about that yet?
Well,
Like
the
position
combine starts tomorrow. From all accounts, he's going to do drills as both a cornerback and
or a
wide
receiver?
receiver, but he's going to looks like primarily focused on cornerback, and that's how I see him as well. I see him as being an impact corner, and then maybe being a gadget type of run the ball 1 to 3 times a
I,
game, catch
I do think
five or
he
six
has to choose a
passes.
position. I don't think he could survive in the NFL doing both ways. I know we never thought that in college either, but it's not like he's the biggest guy, and I know he's very athletic. He's uber athletic. I think he would have a better career if he chose corner, just his skill and his ball skills. Um, but yeah, I think that would be really good for the Giants. And with them in all the talks with Matt Stafford, which seemed to take over the radio today, and even some Aaron Rodgers talk that they were saying maybe even he would be a better fit at this point for the Giants. That's what Evan Roberts is saying. I don't agree with that at all. But I think every year since the Giants have been really like so bad for a long time, I think and this is what the fan talked about also, I think they've been really pressured to whatever quarterback is there to take them. no matter if they really like him or not. They've been really pressured for a while. And if they don't like Shador Sanders or Cam Ward, I mean, they can't be forced to take him and just go with the best available. If Travis Hunter's the best available, they have a lot of holes, so they need to fill him up. Doesn't always have to be quarterback. If Hunter's there and you think he's the best available, kind of needs to take him.
So really quickly on Hunter, I do believe that he could be say, hey, I'm a full time corner, and if the offense wants to use me, I can be used here or there. I don't think he'll be a full time wide receiver, but I can see him absolutely, whether it's the Giants or somebody else, getting 5 to 10 routes a game, maybe getting 2 to 5 catches a game. And he used to carry the ball in Colorado, maybe getting him a carry or two, but primarily focusing on corner. As far as the Giants, I heard what Evan said, and I'm up early because I work out in the morning before school, and I listen to McMonagle at least his last half hour, 40 minutes of his show. He's also another one that would rather have Aaron Rodgers than Matthew Stafford. Here's where I stand on it. They're gonna feng shui the money, so the cap actually would help the Giants if they end up getting Stafford. So that's not something I'm worried about. Oh, you're gonna pay Stafford $50 million. Well, if you listen to Gio this morning talk about all the quarterbacks that are making more than what Stafford's probably looking for, there's an insane amount. Like Trevor Lawrence will still make more than what Stafford's looking for. Like, would you rather have Trevor Lawrence at his age now or Matthew Stafford at 37? I'll take Matthew Stafford at 37. But Aaron, I think, is a specific scenario, and you can't guarantee this. But if I'm the New York Giants, and let's say they're in love with Cam Ward, but they're not in love with Shador Sanders, and they think Cam's going to get drafted. If they get word that Cam's going to slide to them, and they don't want to start him, Aaron Rodgers then would be somebody I'd be interested in. I mean, if the Giants were in love with Shador Sanders, and they're like, but he needs to sit behind somebody, maybe Aaron Rodgers for a year. I don't think Stafford is that type of quarterback because you're going to give him at least two and an option for a third year. So you're not bringing Stafford in to be like, hey, go tutor the kid and we're going to get rid of you. I mean, that's essentially what Atlanta did with Kirk Cousins, but I don't think that's the way they drew it up.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be best for them, even though, I mean, it's like to give them $50 million a year, and then for 2 of those years, or 1.5 of those years even, to sit on the bench. That's probably not the best thing to do. Um, Even though, I mean, it kind of might have to be sort of. I mean, it depends on what, I mean, because I don't think at least any of these quarterbacks are ready, maybe week one, to start for any team, really. I mean, I know Cam Ward probably is the biggest upside. Um, but again, Aaron Rodgers, is that something he's going to want to do? Does he want to be that guy? Or does he think he has 1 year, maybe with, I don't San
Well,
Francisco? I don't know.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
but no, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or whether it's Kirk Cousins or whether it's if Russell Wilson gets jettisoned. First of all, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have many suitors, dude. It was the Jets or nobody. Nobody wanted Aaron Rodgers. The fact that the Jets took that money was insane to begin with. But hey, if somebody were to come on, not Aaron Rodgers' door and say, "Hey, we want to give you a chance to guaranteed start the first 8 games, and if you're playing well and the team's doing well, maybe you play the rest of the year, and we'll see what happens after that." I mean, I would jump on that if I'm Aaron Rodgers, but I,
I feel like at that point you might as well just retire. Unless it depends on his mindset. I mean, if he thinks he's got time left and nobody wants him, then he's just got. I mean, him just trotting him out. I don't. He's not that type of person. I don't think. I mean, it seems like he's got too much pride or too much arrogance to be that person. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe if it's just about the money, he would do that. But you never know.
well, I mean, the one thing you can say about Aaron is he seems to be a prideful person. Now nobody knows he's bat bleep crazy. Um, but he seems to be a very prideful person, and I would think that he doesn't want to go out like this. A hurt year and then a very subpar year where, newsflash, his numbers were just as good as Patrick Mahomes, who made the Super Bowl. If you look at his stats. But no, but as from a Giant perspective, you asked me how this all started was you asked me how I would, if what I would want as the quarterback. That's the only way I would be accepting of Aaron is if you told me he was coming in to tutor a kid. Maybe the Giants want to trade back to 7 and draft Jackson Dart and get a second round pick this year or a first round pick next year in exchange for going from 3 down to 6 or 7. You get what I'm saying? So those would be situations that I would be at least interested in Aaron. But if I'm Aaron versus Stafford, I'd rather have Stafford.
And there's also too, you don't have to get worse. Next year's supposed to be a loaded draft class as well,
Correct.
with Arch headlining that. So
Yeah.
I mean, I know Giant fans and New York fans in general want to get it done now, but you don't. I hope they don't get forced into it. Probably wouldn't be the best thing.
Yep, I concur. So real quick, I know I mentioned it before. The combine starts tomorrow, so high school aged college kids, they are gonna be running around in their underwear, and they'll be jumping, and we'll get like who's gonna be the next big thing, and has nothing to do with real football. So we shall see. I don't have anything else to report on for football. Shall we move on to basketball?
Yeah, let's go. We have a lot of basketball.
All right, so both the Knicks and the Nets are playing right now. Let me give you my opinion on the Nets before we even get to the Knicks, because I got the same garbage to say about the Knicks that I have been saying for weeks now. But the Nets, there's 6 teams worse than you at this point, the East and the West, as far as the hunt for Cooper Flag. Um,
Well, that's
at this point, you might as well. You're 2 games back at a 10 seed. You might as well try to find a way to get into the 10 seed. Even if you lose the playing game, give the fans something to root, the 15 of you to something to root for, and try to get in the playing game.
yeah. It's obvious that obviously tanking. I mean, I think that was Sean Marks' intention at the beginning of the year was to tank. And he obviously, if you look at their roster, you would think so. With the people that they're trotting out there, all of a sudden, Cam Johnson has been a 50-40-90 guy this year. He has a chance to be 50-40-90 guy, which is pretty elite company. That's like in the terms of Kevin Durant company. Um, Cam Thomas has been injured most of the year. You have D'Angelo Russell has been injured since he's been in Brooklyn. You would think they want to tank, but they just don't. I don't know. They're only a game and a half out of the play-in right now. Um, we have the whole thing is it's not like this draft is the end all be all, which is kind of what I've been seeing on X. And everyone that's what everyone that's between Flag and the two Rutgers boys, and there's a couple other guys too. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of draft picks. If we really wanted to move up, we could float out Cam Thomas in there along with a pick if we really wanted to move up in the draft, I think. But at this point, I can't root for losses. If they lose, again, I know it may be better in the long run, but this is an exciting team to watch. And I know none of them might not be on the team in a year or two. I get it. But I'm a fan. We want to see our teams win. I'm not going to go watch team. I'm not watching the Nets right now. I was like, oh, I hope they lose by 30. I hope the Thunder crush them. I can't hope for that. If they do, they do. I mean, they're 40-10 or whatever the Thunder are. Except the Nets are up by 15 at halftime. Like, what is going on? So whatever. I'm rooting for wins. I want to be happy. I want to root for wins, and then however it falls, it falls. However the draft falls.
Yep. And yeah, not. I mean, listen. Like we said this last week, and we said this the week before. It's different in a sport like football, where you can legitimately see this one win makes a difference and it's a direct correlation. If I finish with the most losses, I get the best pick. You don't even get that here.
The-
So what's the sense of rooting for losses? And in your case, with so many teams below you, you might as well try to get in the play-in.
So yeah, the last thing I'll say is, let's just say, all right, we tanked the last 20 games. Let's just say we're not going to get it, but the top lottery odds will have the worst record in the league. The top lottery odds, not going to happen. But whatever. Well, let's say we do. And then, so everybody's happy. Oh, we tanked. It's great. But then all of a sudden, like in previous years, we get the 4 pick or whatever the least pick is, like the third or the fourth pick. And then what are we supposed to do? Oh, so we tanked, and now we're still not going to get Cooper Flag or Dylan Harper, who was the projected number 2 pick, and be like, oh well, at least we tried. We tanked, and now we got something we don't want to get. I do think there's a thing as culture, and I know it's hard to say because players normally win. We have a good coach. We're going to get the players, I think. We have enough money where players will just come to us. I'm
Yeah.
not really.
Yep. Totally different in a cap sport, but trust me, from a Knicks fan who for years saw us finish in the bottom 3 and never get a top pick, It's almost not worth it to tank. But speaking of the Knicks, since I'm already on that topic, let's talk about how the Knicks are absolutely soft. Cat is out again tonight. Is I believe his sixth or seventh game missed due to injury this year. And Yeah, hooray! They're blowing out the awful Philadelphia 76ers. But when they play anybody of any real consequence, the Knicks go into a shell, and they just cannot defend on the perimeter. Dan, for the life of me, I can't figure it out. I understand you are a Nets fan, so we dealt with
Well,
the
that's why an
whole
IBO. I think the IBO.
Mikal Bridges hate when he came over in a trade, but they didn't trade away that much, and yet they cannot defend on the perimeter. I believe they got in one of the more talented defenders in the league in Mikal Bridges, and they've gotten worse on the perimeter. Is that all Cat?
No, no. I mean, he is really bad in the pick and roll. Like his foot, like he's got great footwork offensively, and he's elite, obviously offensively. Defense, he's just I don't remember him being. He's just bad. It's bad. Like it's really bad. And I think what's happening is OG and Mikel or whoever else is on the other wing, maybe we'll say Josh Hart, is collapsing on that pick and roll and leaving open shooters on the 3-point line. I think that's that problem. And then teams like Boston and Cleveland just seem like every time they play the Knicks, they don't miss for whatever reason. Um, yeah, no, it's you have. I am going to say that what happens now, what happened in February, doesn't necessarily affect what happens in May. Now, I know it's not close games and they're getting blown out, and it's not even really close. And that Boston game on Sunday was really a lot. The score was a lot closer than it really looked like. Um, but yeah, there's not really they could do much to this roster, unfortunately. I mean, obviously you have Mitch coming back, and it looks like Tibbs kind of said it in his press conference that he was going to be the starter. I guess eventually when they built up his minutes. So I'm assuming that makes Josh Hart, I'm assuming, going to the bench. Um, and they got it. I mean, Mitch isn't going to really help their perimeter defensive needs because he's not exactly fleet of foot. He's athletic for being 7'2", 7'1", whatever he is, but he's not going to really help that too
No,
much.
but he's much better in the pick and roll.
Oh no, of course he's going to be definitely an upgrade over what they have. But then do they? Was Cat I don't know on the wing with Cat on the wing? Is Cat going to be the one collapsing down? Because if Mitch is up top and they're playing drop, it depends what they play. He's definitely going to be better. They're going to see how they. You got to hope Mitch comes back and he's healthy. That's what you got to hope
Yep.
and have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's they're third in the East. It looks like they're going to finish third in the East. I mean, unless something earth shattering happens behind them, because I don't think they're catching Boston. And we'll see what happens. You know, they'll be expected to at least win the one series in the playoffs, and then they'll have to face Boston. And they have not shown the ability to step up to Boston, whether KP's in the lineup or not. So we shall see. But we're going to close up shop today with what I thought about opening up shop today, which is baseball. Baseball is alive and
Baseball,
well. It is
baseball.
beautiful in sunny Florida and Arizona, and there are training camps abound. So let's start with our New York Yankees. And the big news this week are two non really baseball type headlines from your New York Yankees. And maybe that's why I got my inspiration from growing out my beard. But the New York Yankees have changed their beard policy. It was all the rage on sports radio for 2+ days that they are allowed to have a nicely groomed beard and mustache combo now. What do you think about it, Dan?
Well, we talked about it. It's almost like almost like we kind of called it, or at least my question kind of called it when we were talking about it, because I talked about Devin Williams and the picture of him, and he just looks
Weird.
odd
Yeah.
with clean shaven. And it seems like just reading from what I was reading, he was kind of a big kind of proponent or like almost an influence on Hal making this decision. And no matter how foolish, I know you said if you're a Yankee, you got to embrace the tradition. But I mean, I kind of agree. But no matter how foolish we think it is, if it's going to cost you players, you don't want to be that. All right, we didn't get this guy because he wouldn't shave. That's kind of especially like in Vlad Guerrero's case or anything like that. It seems like it'd be interesting to see who if we see
or
a
or
bearded
Devin Williams
Devin
resigning because
Williams
he's a free
re-signing.
agent. Yeah,
It'll be interesting if we get a Garrett Cole re-going out his beard from the Houston days. I think it'll be kind of interesting and kind of funny to see how far they take it. And then Aaron Judge actually came out and said, no. He's like, he's a big tradition. He's not going to grow out the beard. He's going to stay the way he is.
that's my guy.
It'll be interesting to see who does it. But I do think you got to get with the times a little bit, and you got to pick your battles. I think these are one of the battles that you're gonna have to learn to live with, and it's not the worst thing in the world. It'll just be interesting to see on opening day.
I was never against it. I was never for it. I said, hey, if the old man put it in, leave it. But now that it's changed, listen. I'm a guy who wears a beard. I wear a beard constantly. I joke around all the time. I have this weird double chin, and like to hide it behind my beard. Uh, so, uh, I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I was up in arms about the Yankees having beards as I sit here on a video podcast and do it with a beard. And then the other non-baseball but baseball related thing to do with the Yankees is no longer will they play New York, New York from Frank Sinatra. When the Yankees lose, they will be playing That's Life by Frank Sinatra, which is, I think, quite fitting when you think about the words. If you don't know the song, Google it. Yeah, I think it's a good change. Dan, I don't know if you realize this. I was talking to my family about this. They used to do Liza Minnelli after losses, the Liza Minnelli version of New York, New York, but apparently Liza complained about that, and the Yankees said, okay, we'll change it, because I didn't know why that was changed as well.
I had never noticed before they actually made it a thing. I think like I don't know if Keith McPherson or one of them like really like brought it out to like public that it was like they play New York every game. I don't know why I never registered. Obviously, we know when they win, that's the song. But like, I never noticed before. You always knew that they played New York every
Because
single game or home game.
I knew it used to be Liza, but I never knew why they stopped playing Liza. So it was New York, New York, but the female version, and then
Yeah.
that stopped.
No. Yeah. No. Play something else. I'm fine with that. Yeah. It's playing with the time. Seems like a lot of changes are happening. I think it's for the better. Why not? We got to
Yep.
conform. Just hope now, and I don't want this to happen. I think this is what makes the Yankees the Yankees. I don't want to see names on the backs of jerseys. I do not want to see that. Now I know that's a whole thing, and it's a joke that they sell it in stores with the names on the backs of jerseys. That I don't want to see. I think that's what makes it like legendary or whatever you want to
That's
call
why I actually called up the Michael K show once when I was on my way to a Yankee game, and I was working at Sports Authority where you and I met and where we used to work. And I said to them, like, hey, listen, I fully agree. I won't buy a jersey without a name on the back, with a name on the back for the Yankees. But we worked in retail, sports retail. 95% of the jerseys that were sold to us or sent to us had a name on the back. We rarely got any without the name on the back. It was 100 times easier to find a Yankee jersey with a name than not a name. I can't really blame Joe and Johnny who went to at the time, the Models of the Sports Authority and now the Dicks, and got themselves a jersey, and it's got Judge's name on the back, because it's a lot of the only thing you can find, especially if you're in a quick fix for a jersey.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm more like just Yankees on the field wearing it. Yeah, no,
I agree.
that's what people fans do. You go to the store, you go into a game tomorrow, you buy a jersey. You're not gonna not leave with a jersey because it has the guy's name on it, no matter how bad you think it is.
I
But in
just
terms of on the field, that's all I meant.
I just said that because I know I've heard people on the radio and doing the sports radio thing that complain, like, and especially on ESPN, which I think they're a bunch of idiots. They were, why would a fan buy a jersey with a name on the back? And when you mentioned the name on the back thing, that reminded me of that stupid argument they always have. And I had to call that one day, and I can count on one hand how many times I've called sports radio in my life, even though I listen to it pretty much every day. Um, So then only one Yankee actually player headline rumor that I saw that I wanted to bring to your attention tonight was well, two, because the Yankees are still apparently in the Nolan Arenado thought process if St. Louis will eat more of his salary. And then another name has emerged, a Josh Smith, which I thought sounded familiar. And when I clicked on the article and read it,
Bas-
what's up?
That's what I think. I think of basketball. Who
Oh,
Josh
well, yeah, I
Smith?
remember that Josh Smith.
Who
Yeah.
who is Josh Smith?
He is he's a utility man that was a prospect in the Yankee trade for Joey Gallo. Yes.
Call. Oh, okay.
Yes. So this,
Great.
yeah, he was like, I think he was a shortstop prospect, but they knew he was going to be a utility man, and has played pretty well. 260 average last year, 13 homers, 62 RBIs. I mean, if we're gonna make a move, I'd rather make a move for something like that. I don't want Nolan Arenado. I'm done. Stop.
Yeah, and I think the only way at this point that we do end up bringing Arenado is if they do everything that Cashman wants in terms of taking all the money. Um, I think he's kind of got the cap in that way, and I think we're gonna end up starting. I mean, well, if Stan's going to be out, looks like Stan's going to at least miss at least a few weeks, the first month, we'll say, of the regular season, at least. That DJ is going to get some DH time, DJ LeMahieu, and then it looks like Oswald Cabrera, or Peraza. Either one of those will take over third base, which I'm okay with. At this point, Peraza's got to kind of show like if he's going to stay on the Yankees or he's not, because he's kind of been the top guy in the system for a few years now, a while. Volpe kind of took his shine 2 years ago when they were competing for that shortstop. So Praz has just kind of been in purgatory, and he's kind of been too good for AAA, but not good enough for the majors. So he's kind of got to show and to see if he's going to actually stay with the team before we use him as a trade chip. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Going with one of the kids at third base and just actually give them a shot.
Yep. And Peraza, unfortunately, starting to remind me of Esteban Florial, where he's too good for AAA, but not good enough for MLB. So he's that weird, like they would call it like the quadruple A player that just too good for AAA and never good enough for the Major League Baseball. Yeah, so I'm if they're gonna make a small move like that, I'm fine with it. If not, let's stick with what we got. I think DH wise though too, you're gonna see Judge, as Boone has alluded to in the past, when G would get days off, Judge would go to DH. You might see a lot, especially if your boy Trent is healthy. Um, he'll end up finding himself in the outfield probably, and they will give Judge the night off or half night off and let him play DH for a while.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to get a lot of more days off because he did play most of the year last year. Judge did, and going to center field, it's a lot. It's a lot more than right field. I do think he is going to be 30. I'm not saying 32 years old, but still got to he's a big guy. Got to get him some rest days in there.
Yep. And we're not gonna just 30 seconds here. We don't have to discuss it, but we're gonna keep an eye on it and we'll talk about it if there's any news. But the Mets have another injury in their pitching staff. And a lot of the Met fans, we listen to WFAN all the time, and it seems like the majority of Met fans are at least frustrated. Even the optimistic ones are frustrated that after all the money you spent, that you're literally going into the season with Clay Holmes as your number two starter, who has not started since the minor leagues. So it's just a question mark there. So we'll see how that. I mean, they're supposed to be in on Dylan Cease. We'll see if that ever gets any more steam. But something to keep an eye on going through spring training. And a quick touch of the Rangers. They're 2 points out of a playoff spot, so I'll let you know if they crack into that playoff seeding. But that's all I got for our sports rundown.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, again, well, we're gonna do our trivia segment actually really soon. We're gonna post it probably later this week. So yeah, we'll have a lot more to talk about. We'll have more. I'm sure we'll have more baseball next week, more basketball. We'll start the combine stuff and March starting. So we're gonna have free agency and franchise tag talk about. But yeah, keep following on X, Facebook, YouTube. Instagram. Keep those follows up. We're looking obviously for more followers every week, which is great. So until next time, I'm Danny. This is Neil. Signing off.